I harvested all of the sugar baby watermelons because, as you can see, the vines just dried up and they stopped growing the fruit. So I'm preparing the bed for the next installment in my fall garden. And this bed is going to have broccoli in it. So I threw in some compost. The straw is still there, which I will need to put around my broccoli plants. I amended this bed over here with a little compost, and I will probably plant some lettuce in a couple weeks to go along with these big stalks of seeds from other lettuce plants. But those I won't use this year. I will use those next spring. The arbor is so exciting. We have the Chinese red noodle beans growing up here. I have a few flowers coming up on both sides. And as we proceed into the arbor, you can see all the little growing green beans hanging down. Owen, I probably could use your help to reach that high. We have a few of the purple ones hanging down also. That's pretty exciting. I wish the purple ones wouldn't turn green when you cook them. I see one way deep in there. I'll have to get that one. I didn't pick that one. Here's another one in there. Makes it very easy to see when they're purple. The green ones sometimes are hard, but it's so cool to have them all hanging down like this. Here I am near the pea fence, and last week I planted more peas for a fall harvest and put the cardboard over it, and I do have some pea germination here, which is really good. At the end of the day today, I'm going to take off all the cardboard. Hopefully we get rain tonight. They're calling for it. And that'll give them a nice dose of rainwater. And then I'll probably cover them up because it is supposed to be hot again. But I think the cardboard did the trick in keeping the temperatures cooler. And thought it was time for a little turkey update. I got a few of you big guys right here. Hello. And there's two in there if you can see them eating. Now if you do a head count, you'll realize that there are only 7 here. So we have a little bad news. We lost one of the girls just a couple days ago. She was fine in the evening when we put them in. But then in the morning, she was listless and lying down. So we immediately took her and put her in the dog crate with food and water to separate her from her flock mates. Her gang, as a group of turkeys is often called. And she passed away a couple hours later. So we are down to 7. So we have 3 boys and 4 girls. So a turkey update. Well, since we did a turkey update, I thought I'd do a chicken update. And here they come. Hey, Charlotte. The girls haven't been free-ranging as much. only because Lily and Hannah have been here and they have two spunky little dogs that would, I am sure, just love to chase chickens. Hi there, Henny Penny. Aren't you friendly? And there's March, loudmouth March. She's always cackling. And there's Coach. But Hannah and Lily are driving back to California, and so the girls can free range now, and we don't have to worry about it too much. Hi there. Are you Buffy or are you Daisy? I think you're Daisy, and I think that's Buffy right over there. Buffy is finally out of the broody box after nearly 2 weeks. Hi, Miss Frau. Aren't you the pretty one? And who's photobombing me? Oh, that's Henny Penny. Yes, she's a sweetie. And here's Tori, Miss Curious. And everybody's pecking at my pants. There's Oreo. She's got that little white spot. That's how we can tell that that's her. Is that our Emmy? That must be Emmy. And there is Minnie over there. Oh, it looked like Coach was pecking at some leaves. You can see that the leaves on the bottom of that branch are all stripped. Anyway, but the girls should get lots of fresh greens now that they can go free ranging. Well, little Minnie, her sister, will come over here. And guess who's in the broody box? Oh yeah, Becky. I tried to let her out today, but she went right back into the nest box. So it seems like every time we have a vacancy in the broody box. Oop, hello there. Oh, you're Emmy. Must have been Tessie we were looking at. Or Dixie chicken. Okay. So every time we have a vacancy, somebody steps up to fill it. All right, little update on the chickens. Hello, all you master growers. I just want to say it's garden time. Welcome to garden tour number 10. I am in my favorite location in the bean arbor. It is totally shaded. It's not a bad day today. A little breezy, not too warm. We were supposed to have lots of rain last night. Of course, we didn't have lots of rain last night. But I just want to kind of start by updating what we've had going on this past week. I just picked beans. You can see that there's still yellow beans to be had on the plant, not very many. Picking more purple potted pole beans. I've got to pause when I say that. It's tough. And plenty of green beans coming on. This week I harvested all the melons, as you saw. And I'm planting new ones. Along with I'm planting another, a couple of zucchini plants. And then the carrots have started coming up that I planted last week. The snap peas are coming up, sugar snap peas. They're also coming up. I'm still doing plenty of watering. As you saw in one of the pictures, the Chinese red noodle beans have started. They're only like 2 inches long, but boy, am I excited about those. They say they're good to stir fry, not like the regular fixing green beans, boiling them or steaming them. But I'll try. We'll see what happens when the first crop of those comes in. So we're still getting squashes, the lemon squash and the 8-ball zucchini squash. I pulled out one of those plants. I'm getting too many, so I thought I'd just reduce it to, I think now I have 2. All of the winter squashes are doing fine. It looks like the spaghetti squash is concentrating on whatever squash it has growing right now, which is fine. Honey nut squash is coming along. Delicata squash, I have a couple of them. I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't have more, but that's okay. We live and we learn. Tomato plants, of course, have started. I don't have enough to really start making batches, but here's a tip. Oftentimes you say slip the skins off, and that is a total mess trying to do that, because you boil them for a little bit so the skins get, you know, softened and pull away from the meat, and it's hot in the kitchen and all that stuff. Here's a tip. Cut out the cores of the tomatoes and discard, or if you have chickens, give them to your chickens. And make an X on the bottom. Put them in a Ziploc bag and toss them in your freezer. And when you get enough to start making a batch of sauce, or whatever you're going to do with them, you thaw them and the skin slips right off. Thus, you're totally eliminating that one process of boiling water and dousing them in and then throwing them in an ice bath and all of that stuff. That just makes for just an extra hot time in your kitchen. So try that if you're interested. An update on the tomatoes. I picked this off of a tomato plant. Now, as you can see, the leaves are yellowing and you can see spots on them. This is called leaf spot. I think it's Sephoria leaf spot. This is a fungal disease. There are regimens, sprayings, and things like that. This fungus starts at the bottom leaves. It lives in the soil, and I try diligently to keep my leaves off the ground and keep from splashing water, but it started to happen. So I cut them off. This thing is not for the compost pile. This is for the burn pile. You don't want those spores from the fungus to propagate all over the place. What my solution would be is next year's crop. I will move the location of the tomato plants that are, particularly one row that has been there for 2 or 3 years. I'll rotate the location, and hopefully that and a little more diligence will keep this fungus at bay. So there's something else that as gardeners we have to look for. What else is going on? Most everything else is good. I still have beets in the garden. I will be collecting some more to freeze this week and eat, of course. So that's about it as far as what's happening in the garden. You saw I just posted a number of those pictures. Anybody have any questions about any of that? Remember, shoot me the question and I'll try and answer. Okay, Aunt Jo was having a problem, and so even though she didn't ask me specifically for an answer, this is going to be her question. It's about moles and voles. What's the difference and how do you get rid of them? Now, moles and voles, everybody thinks, oh, they're the same thing. Well, they're far from the same thing. A mole is a carnivore. So it eats things like earthworms, insects, grubs, things like that. Outside of the earthworms, most of the other things are probably things that you really don't want hanging around. So they're a carnivore, and they have a very pointy nose, and their eyes and their ears are so small that you barely can see them. They live underground, and they burrow and tunnel underground, and you can see mounds of soil coming up at the entrance to their burrows. And they don't need sight. So that's why their eyesight is so poor. And usually they hear through vibrations. So they don't need so much the outer ear. They have a more complicated inner ear. So, and then there's the voles. Now voles are a different animal altogether. Voles are, they eat vegetation only. So they're herbivores. And these things will munch and chew on the roots of your plants that are in the ground, your flowers. If you have bulbs, they're particularly fond of bulbs, tulip bulbs, daffodil bulbs, things like that. They too will tunnel, but usually they tunnel more at the surface vegetation. So they're a little bit above ground. And these things have a more flattened nose, and they are, as I said, they're primarily the herbivores. And of course, as a gardener, you don't really want them munching on your roots and killing your plants from the underground up. So there are a few ways to get rid of these little creatures. Moles, there's been some, talk about you can mix some pine sol, which is pretty caustic, with a little bit of water, spray it into their holes wherever you may see it, and that's a smell and a substance that they don't really like. When we lived in Duanesburg, I had read you put juicy fruit gum into the hole. This is something that their digestive system, they'll eat it, but it can't process it, so they succumb to the juicy fruit gum. Also, mothballs will chase them away. That naphthol that's in there is very caustic. It's like mothballs, harm insects and things like that. Keeps it out of your clothes, your winter clothes, your things that they like to lay their eggs and their larvae on. You can also put like thorny stems in their hole, like rose stems, the prickly things. If you put those in their holes, they don't like that. There's also castor beans and castor oil. That's another thing that they're not too fond of. And also, somebody says pieces of garlic. I don't know that I want to waste my precious garlic on the moles, but you could try that. Voles are different. To get rid of those, there's a powder called diatomaceous earth, often shortened to DE, and they say spray that around the bases of your plants and your trees and things like that, and they're liable to stay away from that. DE is a substance that will it's a natural substance. Diatomaceous earth is the diatoms that are found from the old seawater and stuff are actually shells. So it's ground up very, very finely, and it's made out of silica, which then rubs against the exoskeleton of the insects, and they die because their insides are then exposed. So DE is a really good thing. It doesn't hurt humans. It only targets insects. So that's if you have ants in your house, sprinkle the DE around the perimeter of your house, and that usually takes care of your ant problem, at least until it washes away with the rain. But anyway, so they say also it helps for voles. So that's what you can do. Also, bonamide, which is a scouring powder, to clean your pots and pans. They say if you sprinkle that around, that is something else that may work. So, Aunt Jo, if you got moles or voles, these are fairly organic ways of treating them. I just wanted to show you a few of the cucumbers I have. If you see these, look, they're kind of wonky, funky shaped things like this. Not exactly the perfect kind of cucumber that I wish to be growing, but this is caused by fluctuation in watering or lack of watering. The first part of the cucumber gets all the water, and it just has a a pointy end. Still making pickles out of this. I just made another batch of refrigerator pickles. Wonder if anybody else made any this week. Let me know how they are. This is a very cutie tomato. This is a Genovese. And Katie has some of these. Hers are a little bit larger than mine. I have some up on the vine that are much bigger. But it's a really cute tomato. Haven't tasted it yet, but I just picked this one out of the garden. Anyway, so if anybody has any more questions for this coming up week, that would be great. So next time, happy gardening. And the winner of this week's gardening question of the week is